Okay, guys, this is going to be the last SKT versus KT game for the 2017 playoffs. A little late on it, but I'm going to be releasing all the games at the same time, so it doesn't matter. So we're back in game five. SKT is back on the red side. So let's go ahead and dive right in. This has been a very interesting series, just because I think a lot of nerves have been a little weird, but we've seen a lot of good play from very specific players depending on the game, especially last game with Wolf's Blitzcrank. So I'm very excited to see what happens in this game and how exciting it is. So we're seeing like the same bands over and over again for the entire series. I mean, we have the cast coming out back. The Gragas is coming back because it was used in a couple games by SKT. And again, I talked about how KT had been banning the Gragas so that SKT is more apt to ban Zac, since Gragas is usually the response to Zac. And SKT banned Kalista since they know Deft has been pretty good at using it, and they put priority on the Galio again, knowing that it's very, very strong. And SKT has actually played Tristana in all 4 games so far. So KT actually choose to ban the Tristana. But when they ban this, they're leaving up so many other power picks. This is really interesting. What's I believe SKT will ban Zac. The thing is, like SKT have chosen to not ban Zac in 2 games, and they went 1-1. Um, so I'm not sure if they're afraid of the Zac or not. But now that the Gragas is gone, uh, I don't know what they would put in that role. Um, in game one they used Maokai versus um, Zac, and it wasn't that bad because Maokai can still deny the Zac E, but they weren't able to do that much with the Maokai jungle. Um, anyway, SKT banned LeBlanc here since KT have been using that too on pawn, and it's been really annoying. But I feel like I don't think KT won either of their games that they played LeBlanc. So I don't know. This is just really weird drafting for me, because I mean all of these power picks are open right now. There's Zac, there's Elise, there's Rek'Sai, there is Caitlyn, there's Braum. I should probably use a different color. Rakan. No, something darker. What else is up? Um, Cassie's banned. Talia. Fuck. And then there's a bunch of top laners up because we haven't banned any top laners. And I mean the Maokai is still up. I talked about that already, but that is definitely an option for both teams. And then Cho'Gath is still up. But I know SKT likes to match Cho'Gath with Trundle. So KT might be scared of the Cho'Gath pick as well. So will KT pick Zac again? That is the question. Yes, they do. So I'm a little confused with how SKT responds, because I feel like they want KT to pick Zac. I feel like this had to be on purpose. Anyway, SKT goes ahead and picks up the Rakan that they really like to ban, and they played last game, and it went absolutely wonderfully. Or not last game, but in game 3. They played it in game 3. Last game they got to play Blitzcrank. And they're going to pick up the Xayah. So they're going to have a Xayah Rakan lane. That's going to be really strong. We know that has a little bit of extra synergy with each other. So they're going to have some little fancy tactics that they can go through with um, enhanced recalls and stuff like that. KT are hovering the Alistar, which would be a good pickup for the bottom lane because it would allow, with the Zac, someone who can tank the tower for early dives. Or even dives around that level 6. They're hovering the Lucian as well. I would be really interested to see Pawn play Lucian because Faker played Lucian. Faker's 8-1 with Lucian mid. We saw that in another in one of the stats that actually came up in drafting. I think last VOD review. Anyway, Pawn opts to not do that. They might have been hovering it to say, "Hey Faker, do you want that pick?" But they go ahead and they pick up the Shen. And it looks like KT is going to be drafting a protect the carry comp. SKT don't falter. Looks like they go ahead and they go straight back into the Corki. They say, this has been working for us. We're going to keep on using it. It's really strong when we get Triforce. And it's really strong against a lot of mid laners. And he doesn't get bullied a lot. And they go ahead and they ban the Lucian, saying we don't want to see that in the mid lane. He's too annoying. KT go ahead and they ban the Cho'Gath. SKT might go back to their Trundle ban, or maybe they'll ban another mid laner. Maybe they don't want to see the Talia. I don't know. Cassiopeia is already banned, so there's not a lot of people that are going to be really annoying for a Faker. So they go ahead and they ban an ADC. And it's a support ADC. So this is really interesting to me because we're seeing this like very heavy front line, which you would usually support with like a hyper carry of some sort. And Trist is already banned, and Kog'Maw's on the table, and Twitch is on the table. And Caitlyn is on the table. Not that Caitlyn is a hyper carry, because Caitlyn's not a hyper carry. But she does do a lot of damage and would go well with another very hard carry mage mid laner. And SKT opt for Trundle top. I see. So Trundle, I always talk about how Trundle is like the response to Cho'Gath. So and since Cho'Gath is banned, I'm wondering if KT have a response for the Trundle. So they hovered the Twitch, they hovered the Jinx, but they choose not to go for a hyper carry, but to go for Sivir, and that's fine because Sivir is like a late game not a hyper carry, but a late game strong carry. So she has massive amounts of team fight damage, but it takes her a while to get there. And then they go ahead and they pick up Pawn for Kassadin, or Kassadin for Pawn. So after where are we here? We're going to do our lane by lane, and we're going to do our mid-game talk, and then we're going to talk about what each team wants to do, and then we're going to go ahead and move right back into the game. So as for top lane, I think Shen wins early, but around level 6, Trundle starts winning the lane. So around the 10-minute mark, you might not even see a CS lead for either. You might see that it's even. And what the hell is KT doing? Trolling. No. What the fuck? Is there a fucking... Can we get a screen where this looks nice? Alright, you know what, whatever. I'll just do it right here on the game. We're going to pause the game. So as for Kassadin versus Corki, Kassadin's actually a really good match to Corki because Corki now mainly does magic damage due to this new passive, where his passive gives him 80% magic damage on his auto attacks. So Kassadin kind of counters this with he has the spell shield, not the spell shield, but the magic damage shield. And then he has his passive, which makes him take that 15% reduced damage to magic damage. So Kassadin actually ends up winning mid lane, not very early, because Kassadin never wins lane like before level 6 unless he's against like a melee matchup. But it's alright because Faker only is trying to get to that Triforce spot. Remember, Corki doesn't like to do that much until he gets to Triforce. But Pawn is really just waiting for Rod of Ages in level 6. But Pawn can't be too pushed in by Faker, so again, we would call this even. As for the bot lane, this one's a tough one. I would say that it's in the favor of SKT due to the fact that they have the enhanced damage and the enhanced recall. Xayah's going to have better early. The one thing that KT have in their pocket is that I talked about in one of the previous matches that the conditional bot lane win. Where Wolf, in this case, has to hit his knockup. Whereas it's much easier for Mata to hit his combo because it's not a skill shot. And Def does have the spell shield. So while SKT have more utility and more damage, they have to find an opportunity where Sivir doesn't have spell shield. And this may be really early. I don't really like that word. Find a window where spell shield is down. And Rakan successfully hits the knockout. As for how the lane is going to go, Sivir is going to push a lot. So you're again going to see even in CS. So we're not going to see big CS leads across the map in the first 10 minutes. Although we all know that after about the 10-minute mark, CS leads start naturally accruing due to rotations. So there's one more thing that SKT have to worry about. KT actually has double teleport. So you might see, it is possible that Kassadin has a small CS lead. And I would say that it's going to be +5 to 8 at 10 minutes. And that's just because he has the teleport. He's able to recover lane quickly. Now, what happens in the mid game? Well, KT is going to run a 1-3-1, and they've been running a 1-3-1 for the entire game now. Or for the entire series now. So you're gonna see Kassadin in a side lane, you're gonna see Shen in a side lane, and they have the double teleport so that they can get to anywhere really quickly. And then you have the Sivir, Alistar, Zac, and that's gonna be really, really hard to engage on. But what's going to have to happen in this 1-3-1 is either remember, if you have a 1-3-1, you have to have two of these lanes winning. And as for the matchup, if SKT chooses to match the 1-3-1, they're gonna win this Trundle versus Shen lane eventually. They're gonna it's gonna really depend on who wins the other one lane on Faker Pawn, because it's gonna depend on who has more items. And then beyond that, it's a skill matchup. But because Corki is ranged, he has a little bit of an advantage. Since he gets to have extra damage when Cassid ends and not all inning. But if Cassidin all ins and has the damage to almost one hit Faker, then he can easily win that side lane. And then as for the other three from SKT, wait a second, I never talked about their Jarvan pick, but that's fine. Their 3 lane is going to be really strong, really hard to engage on, but also has really strong engage. It's because they have the Jarvan ult and they have the Rakan E. And that's going to be really strong against the Sivir, because Sivir is short range. She's only at 500 range. And if Sivir has no flash, means that Jarvan can lock her up. Even if she spell shields, she can't get out of the Jarvan ult. So that's going to be a problem for them in that 3 lane. And as we know for the 1-3-1, it's really strong with Baron. KT can also run a 4-1 with the Shen in the side lane. And if they're going to run a 4-1, they're looking for hard engage using Zac and Alistar. That's followed up by the Sivir ult and the Cassidin ult. And they're going to be heavy, hard focusing onto Faker. Since it's going to be much more difficult to kill Chaya, it's more likely that they're going to focus onto Faker, just because Chaya has the invulnerability. Now, on the side of SKT, they can run the 1-3-1 and match the 1-3-1 depending on how lanes are. But they are more likely to run a 4-1 because they don't have a double teleport. And whether or not they can 4v4 in the mid lane doesn't really matter as long as they can stop themselves from being engaged on. So they want to have disengage, and they have disengage with the Corki W and the Chaya R. And Rakan can run away too, and Jarvan has mobility no matter which direction he's moving in. But they also have hard engage, and really hard engage with the Jarvan ult, and can really punish people that don't have flash. So they're looking to get these flashes around the 10-minute mark, get flashes, and then set up 4-1. And then in the top lane, even though Shen is going to be able to ult their targets, Trundle's going to be able to want to disrupt Shen with the pillar, so that they can continue to be the 4v4 in mid lane. Or if they are able to engage and force Shen ult, they use Trundle as a split push. And then they full disengage mid. Unless they're really fed and they can 4v5, but that's rare. That shouldn't happen. All right, so let's get right into it. Rakan with Amulet's coin, so you're going to see a small gold lead going to SKT because he's just going to be collecting a lot of gold from that. You see the Cassidin with the Dark Seal, and Corki goes ahead and he has Dorian Shield. But nothing too interesting from core early builds. So you see our 5-man spread, 5-man spread important. I don't know if anybody's going to get any vision. Nobody's placing any wards. Nobody's going aggressive at all. It surprises me that neither team is like confident enough to go ahead and ward the enemy wraiths, because we know both of these junglers are going to take wraiths at some point. Oh, we do see there is a ward on Jarvan's red, and Jarvan actually started blue. Enemy blue. Hold on. What the hell? Hold on. How did this happen? Okay, so Zach is moving towards his red. They actually don't see Jarvan and Trundle moving in. Yeah, they don't see this at all. Shen goes toward the enemy red buff. And Blank goes ahead and he's taking away the blue, and Antara is giving him a leash. Antara gets some level 1 damage out. Now this is really interesting because the thing is, Zach can't necessarily go to blue, enemy blue. And why Zach can't go to enemy blue right now is because blue is surrounded by mid and bot, and therefore it's likely that SKT's mid and bot can go to their blue. And SKT's bot is pushing, and SKT's mid is also going to be closer to the blue just naturally because they're going to have a natural pathway right there. And they have lane priority because Cass doesn't have lane priority until about level 6 or even maybe level 4 or 5. And because bot lane is actually going to be a winning lane, especially in the early, they're not going to be looking to have a full fight, like a level 2 fight in the jungle 3v3. That would be really weird. And KT wouldn't want to do that because it would put them behind. Tara getting all his CS there, and Smeb missing too. Unfortunate. So J4 is at his red now. And that he's in KT's vision right now. KT sees J4, but they aren't gonna know if he's going to Wraiths or not. Actually, J4 is going for, what is he doing? This jungle pathing is really interesting. Oh my god. Did he smite? He smited the wolves and actually got score. That is cheese. Holy crap. Mind you that, okay, so this is really interesting because he predicted where score was going to be. He predicted that score was going to start red and then go to race and then go to wolves. And this was not very hard to predict because if Zach didn't start blue, then he had to start on the bottom side of the map. And because KT knew that Jarvan started their blue, Blank knew that it was likely that he was going to either be at Wolves or he was going to be at Gromp. There was no reason for Zach to go early to Golems. So look at this happen again. He goes, it normally, they actually pinged Blank to be on the race, and they assumed he was on the race. And Blank comes right on over, EQ, smite, and gets lots of damage onto Score, and Score actually has to back early. And Pawn can't do anything because he's a level 2 Kassadin. I'm gonna go ahead and take away the red plant, and Jarvan's gonna be taking Gromp away too. Blank is full on cheese for this, full cheese against the Zac. They say, you want to play Broken Champions? We're going to abuse you so that you can't do anything. Unfortunate that they missed the cannon there. So, Mana did go ahead and place a blue ward here. They do see blank on the blue buff right now. Alistar moving around. He might be looking for a roam mid. Faker pushed up a little bit. Faker's going to have to W over the wall. Say, I don't want any of that. I'll take my small CS lead that I have in the early game because Kassadin can't do anything from levels 1 to 3. And I'll go ahead and back early. No, Faker actually choosing to stay in lane. This is really sketchy. Because after Zach goes ahead and he finishes Wraiths here, he could jump onto Faker as well. But SKT says that we don't mind that. We're going to have Wolf go ahead and roam up into the mid lane so that Faker can get all the CS he needs. So SKT making a good rotation so that Faker doesn't miss too much CS. They want to make sure that he continues to be at a lead. Blank going for his race, but realized that Score has been counter jungling, and they actually predict that Score was over at the golems, and they make sure that they can deny that from Score. Faker really trying to abuse pawn in the mid lane, making sure, say, hey, I want you to back so that when I push in the wave that I can back too. Score looks like he's going to go in onto Faker here, and pawn's teleporting into lane. Faker's really disrespecting that teleport. Faker flashes out of the stretching strikes, and now Faker has flash down. See, this is really interesting because Faker, look at Faker's lane positioning right now. Faker's in, well, okay. This is how I talk about the mid lane positioning. I talk about these zones. How you would normally play in this zone if you have vision up here, or play in this zone if you have vision down here, or play back if you have no vision, and play forward if you have vision everywhere. And then you can split this up further. I have even smaller zones, and you can continue to split that up. But Faker, no vision to his top side, no vision to his bottom side. Jarvan's nowhere near him. Rakan's in the bottom lane, and Zach's missing. Zach is completely Mia, and Faker just says, you know what, whatever. I don't really care. I want that CS. I want that gold. And he ends up having to trade Flash for it. There's a small CS lead in the bottom lane in terms of Sivir. It's about 5 CS. That's really interesting because I don't know how that managed to happen. Maybe it was when Rakan left the lane for a little while that Chaya had to miss a few CS. And it's weird because Chaya hasn't backed, but Sivir has. You can tell because she has a call. And I wasn't really paying attention to when she backed, but I probably should have. Jarvan looking to do more counter jungling, but sees that he's being rotated on and goes ahead and gets vision. And it's important to note that Blank is really far ahead in terms of gold right now. And I know it doesn't seem this way because of the jungle experience, but remember that Zach has farmed 2 Wraith camps and 1 Golem Maybe two golems by now, actually. Two golems. So his CS is really inflated. Whereas Jarvan stole his first blue, Jarvan stole his first wolves, Jarvan stealing two of his gromps, and Jarvan also got his golems and his wolves, and I don't think he ever took his gromp, but he got both of his buffs as well. So Jarvan, despite not having the inflated CS, is actually winning right now. Jarvan actually going to steal the second blue buff. This is really unfortunate for Zach. And they can't really do anything because they have no lane priority. Oh my god, I can't fucking write. So Jarvan's comfortable. Goes straight from Zach's blue to his red. Zach doesn't even know that his blue's gone. Antara is going to get some deep vision. Oh my god. Antara actually managed to steal the wolves away because Score didn't have smite. This is looking really, really bad for Score. Score just can't get any experience. Blank's now level 6 and Score is not. That's huge. And Score has no jungle champs to take. His entire jungle is clear. Score might as well just back or look for a gank. Score is going to be looking for a lane gank in the bottom lane. Not seen by the vision. Oh, they have a pink ward here, and the minions were gone. But Wolf hits him with a Q, but I don't think Wolf saw him. They're just waiting for the opportunity. So Score jumps in, responds with the Chaya ultimate. So no harm, no done. No Chaya ultimate, so they can't play very aggressively, but it's not on a long cooldown. So Score is going to be retreating, and he's probably going to be moving to his Wraith now. Yep, he pings it. That's his easiest camp to take. Blank has 2 levels on Score right now. Very insane lead. And remember, Blank has had a lot more buffs as well. Zach has yet to have a blue buff this game, and since Zach has yet to have a blue buff, Zach is never going to have blue. Because it's very likely that they're going to pass over his blue to Kassadin. And he already lost the first 2, so Kassadin doesn't even get the second buff. Alright, so here's a good example of how I was talking about the bottom lane. And we saw a trade in the bottom lane where Chaya took a little bit of damage like 30 seconds ago. Not even 30 seconds ago, because Alistar engaged on the Chaya, because Chaya doesn't have ultimate. But here's how the Chaya Rakan beats the Sivir and the Alistar. So what happened was Sivir spell shielded, and Chaya used her E to break the spell shield, and then Rakan follows up with the knock-up because the Sivir spell shield was gone. Jarvan comes in for the assist, and Chaya is able to secure the kill, and the only thing that they burned was Wolf's Ignite. And Deft actually burned heal, so that's going to be unfortunate for him. Blank's level 8 now, and Score's level 6, and Blank's going to go ahead and solo Dragon. And let's look at build paths around the board. We see that Tiamat is going to come out for Antara. He's probably going to go ahead and get Phage as well. Jarvan's rushing Cinderhulk, so he's going to be looking to be a face tank this game that engages. You're not going to see Jarvan building a lot of damage because he doesn't need to. You see that we have Trundle, Corki, and Chaya. So we have 3 damage dealers, a bruiser, and 2 carries. So we just need Jarvan to be a full tank, and he's able to do that by building full tank. Let's see, we have BF Sword for Chaya, we have the Sheen coming out, and BF Sword and Pickaxe, and a Cull coming out for Sivir. So a little bit of extra gold going the way of KT due to the Cull. Kassadin has his Catalyst, so he's working on Route of Ages. And Shen has the Ninja Tabi. So Faker has been playing really disrespectful this game. Faker is not positioning in lane the way that you would expect him. Faker is all the way up here and kind of on this side because he has a pink ward over here, but he has no vision in this entire jungle. He just knows that Jarvan's at Wraiths. And so Pawn engages onto him, and he actually he's not able to dodge the Zac E. That was a very slow reaction time. Normally you would probably expect Faker to immediately see it and be able to dodge it with his W, and Faker's going to be taken down and given to the ways of Kassadin. So that looks really good for KT. It's going to be their saving grace because KT is already at a 1,000 gold deficit, but if they get this Kassadin rolling, then Kassadin's going to be able to run over the game. So we do see early sorcerer issues coming out from Faker. If you remember last game, he got Triforce and Infinity Edge, and then he bought Tier 2 boots, sorcerer shoes. He had 2 full items before he finished those, but now in this Kassadin matchup, he's much more apt to finish that magic pen so that he's able to get enough damage in and duel in the lane. Faker placing an aggressive ward, Score waiting on the sideline. Score's 3rd blue buff is almost up, so I don't know if Jarvan's going to be pathing towards it now, or if we're going to see SKT not make an aggressive play for it. Nope. There's Jarvan going for it. We're probably going to see Corki move out of lane. Yep, they're going to try and pass this. We're going to pass this blue buff over to Corki. So that's going to be really good for SKT and really bad for Pawn because they really want that blue buff on Pawn. Since Pawn now has gold and Pawn is useful, it would help them a lot to have that extra power with the blue buff. So I missed the minute 10 CS leads, but just a note, I'm not really sure how Pawn has been playing the mid lane, but he has Corrupting Potion, but he managed to get down 20 CS, and that's a huge number that I wouldn't normally expect. I mean, I would have expected at most 10. So I'm not really sure what happened in the mid lane, since we don't get to just watch the mid lane matchup. But now that Pawn doesn't have blue buff and Corki does have blue buff, we know that the CS lead is going to increase. So that CS lead is increasing, and that's not going to be good for KT at all. KT has Sivir ahead by 10 CS, but that's going to be countered by the fact that Bang has a kill and Sivir does not. And then in the top lane, you see a 10 CS lead going to Trundle. I think there's a couple CS going to the way of Shen right now, which is something that we expected. Because once Trundle hits level 6 and he has Tiamat, he just pushes the lane really hard. Interesting things that are coming out now. We see Chaya moving towards Essence Reaver, while Sivir looks like she's more apt to build Infinity Edge. And you see the mobility boots coming out from Wolf on the Rakan. So Rakan's going to be looking for lots of engages. Lots of plays. So we do see that Faker moves over to the Rift Herald right now with this blue buff that he has, and he's gonna be starting Rift Herald by himself. Yeah, I thought so. Blank didn't want to. Blank didn't care too much about the Rift Herald, because they were unsure of whether or not KT has vision. They didn't have a pink word yet. But if you look, Jarvan just backed, and Jarvan went ahead and bought a pink word. And they also have a pink word on Antara. So they're probably going to be going for Rift Herald soon. Because now that they have leads across the board in the top lane and the bottom lane and the jungle lead is huge, they can force fights around Rift Herald, because Kassadin has yet to reach a main power spike. Anyway, I was just saying, so Kassadin's yet to reach a main power spike, but Rakan with these mobility boots looking to engage. So SKT take their bottom lane. Their bottom lane roams up after pushing the lane. And then Corki moves through the jungle as well with Blank, and they're unseen. So 4 people move into the enemy jungle, and Rakan goes for the engage onto Zac. And then Zac flashes out, and his passive is procced. And then Pawn flashes out and actually teleports to Zac. And Zac uses his E to, or no, I think that was his ultimate, to get Courage of the Colossus. And with that Courage of the Colossus, he's able to get away, which is really interesting. But this is still bad for this is still bad for KT, because now they don't have Pawn's teleport, because his teleport was used to save score. They don't have Pawn's flash, and they don't have Score's flash, and they don't have Mana's ignite. And the only things that we see burned from SKT are heals and ignite, and we all know that flashes are higher priority than these heals. And while Cass is still in the early game, Cass still would like to keep flash for aggression. Oh my god. Alright, so that's definitely not going to be where SKT stops where engages. They're going to look for more, because when you have these Moby boots, you're going to be looking for constant engages. And Blank now has flash up, so as soon as Blank's ultimate is up and Rakan's ultimate is up, you're probably going to see something else come out from both of these lanes. And I just want to say that at some point, you're probably going to see SKT's bot lane rotate into the top, and you're going to see full lane switches. No, actually, no. So it would normally you rotate bot to top, because when Dragon's gone, you want pressure on Rift Herald. But I think I'm wrong here in the sense that SKT would not want it if Sivir also rotated top, so that the Sivir ult would help KT stop the Rift Herald or contest the Rift Herald. So maybe it's better to just have 2 lane priority, to keep their lane priority in mid and top, and have the jungler focus on Rift Herald for a 3v3 rather than for a 4v4. Although if there is one thing, actually no, 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 I'm wrong, I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Because, okay, Shen's ult is down, and Shen's teleport is down, and Kassadin's teleport is down. So if KT or SKT rotates top to bot, and they actually go for an aggressive Rift Herald, not only do they have lane priority, with lane priority, they have the teleport from Antara, and Antara is able to force a 5v4 at Rift Herald. And it means KT has to give it up or risk a 50-50 steal. So it would be correct to see SKT rotate bot to top purely for this reason, because while Shen's ultimate is still on cooldown, that's when you want to abuse the fact that Shen has no map pressure. He has no map pressure for at least 2 minutes. And that's a window to do Rift Herald. Anyway, SKT does not see this, so they're not going to be looking for it. Take a drink here. Faker is package. I don't know what the next dragon is, but Faker's given over blue buff and he has package up. But his package, Faker has been picking up the package prematurely because he only has about 30 seconds left on package, and dragon's just about to spawn, and he's looking for a recall right now. So this is going to be another package Faker can't use. So SKT chose to keep bot lane bot, and this means that they're prioritizing this dragon over the Rift Herald, which is a valid, it is valid, to focus water dragon when you have a siege composition. Because remember, Jarvan and Corki are both great in siege comps. Because Corki is amazing at siege. Whoa. Yeah, they don't want that. Blown up. Does Blank have enough mana for EQ? I don't think it mana, it doesn't matter. Yeah, it didn't matter. Antara actually got dueled by Smeb. Alright, so let's look at everything that happened here. Because SKT won on all parts of the map. So I talk about how SKT prioritizes Trundle because he has such amazing split push. So during the fight that we just saw, Trundle actually takes a minion wave, this upcoming minion wave, ignores Shen under tower, probably by dodging taunt, and takes the tower while Shen is fighting him. And note that this is First Blood Tower. Now, on the bottom side of the map, we know that Jarvan has his ult up, Rakan has his ult up, and Rakan has those movie boots, and Xayah just finished Essence Reaver, and Corki just finished Trinity Force. So they're looking for a fight. So Blank sees Score and Pawn moving towards the bottom side of the map, jumps in, damage going onto Score, and Pawn jumps onto Faker, but the Moby Boots on Rakan allow him to run up and move on to Zac, and Zac gets taken down really fast because remember, Zac is really far behind. He was only level 9, and he lost his passive earlier. And because Shen is currently fighting Trundle in the top lane, Shen can't ult in, and if Shen ults, the ult will be disrupted by Trundle Pillar. Or Trundle doesn't really have mana, but that doesn't matter. Anyway, Faker lots of damage onto Pawn and finishes up Pawn, and Deft and Mata roam up, but they're going to be dying as well, just because SKT is so far ahead in every lane. So now we see about a 4,600 gold lead at 17 minutes. This is the SKT that I used to know. This is an SKT that I used to watch a lot, where this is how they played, and it was very interesting. They would draft a shit ton of lane priority, and they would try and win on all parts of the map at the same time. And it's a very good strategy because sometimes it's too much pressure to deal with. So you're going to see SKT start to run a 4-1. You're probably going to see Trundle move into the bottom lane, and you're going to see 4 group up mid, and they're going to take this tower. And then Trundle's going to be focusing on the bot lane tower. And after SKT get this tower, they're probably going to move into Rift Herald, or they're going to move into Rift Herald and then go mid. It doesn't really matter which way they do it, as long as they make sure they get this tower for free, because they don't need to waste Rift Herald on an outer tower. Actually, Corki may be able to get this tower by himself. He has a huge minion wave. Or yeah, no, they're getting both of these towers. Okay, I spoke a little bit too soon. I wasn't thinking about how long the death timers were. But now that KT's base looks like this and SKT's base looks like this, because that's very different. We see that SKT's base is obviously much larger, and we see a 6,400 gold lead. Yeah, I would say right now that the game's over. SKT can go get a free Rift Herald, which means they can break the inner tower. And if they break the inner tower with a 4-1, where Trundle goes top or bot, and the other 4 go mid, if they can break the inner tower and then break the base, the game is secured. Because there's nothing else KT can do, because they're too far behind. Here's the fight for anybody who wants to see it. Yeah, Pawn can't duel Faker until he has 2 items, or at least the Sheen and fully stacked Rod of Ages. Wow, that was a really good EQ by Jarvan. Yep, here's the Rift Hero that I was talking about. And KT's actually looking for the bot lane tower. Because KT's very desperate right now. Because remember, this is the 5th game. This is game 5. And it's gone to the point where KT has arguably already lost the game. And there's nothing that they can really do. They're trying to even out the gold lead a little bit, to make it about 5,600. But here comes the engage on the bottom lane. Here comes the Shen ult. KT has to be really careful here. They're not looking for a 4v4, and now they have a Chaya and they have a split pushing ADC in the top lane with Rift Herald. Yeah, I think that was your Hail Mary by KT. I think that was your Hail Mary. Because now that the base is broken, the game's over. So let's go back to how they got into that last play, because that last play ended the game. So Zach is on a ward. Oh my god. Wait, is this? No, this is afterwards. Hold on. Because this is not really interesting anymore to see the rest of the game. Okay, so Zach paths into the mid lane, shows himself, now he's shown, and Zach and Kassadin disappear into the bottom lane. This is really bad because they're misjudging the dueling potential of Corki. They're misjudging the Corki power spike. Because if Corki didn't have Triforce yet, this fight could have gone a little bit differently. Whereas Pawn would have actually had dueling potential. And if they were going to... No, you see, like, they wanted to roam in the bottom lane and maybe 4-man bot or 5-man bot. But they can't show themselves. They just showed themselves in mid lane and walked straight into the river, and put themselves in a compromising position. To actually not lose the game at this point, they have to already know that they can't take this fight, and Score would immediately start to E. He would E out, and Pawn would ult out, and they'd be perfectly safe. And the gold lead would continue to remain here. Because once Blank misses E, he has no CC to stop them from leaving. And they don't realize that Rakan moves up, and they probably don't realize that Rakan has mobility boots either. So really, just KT losing the game in one play. Because, I mean, you created a 5,000 gold deficit with one play because you lost 3 towers, including First Blood Tower. You lost 4 deaths, and you lost Rift Herald after that, and this was all after losing a second Water Dragon. So, I mean, you could have already said that KT might have been losing the game anyway, just because of all the lane priority, but they would have been much better. They would have been better off waiting for late game. And maybe not necessarily late game, waiting for like Kassadin to power spike. Yeah, so let's move back up here. SKT's so far ahead. There's another dragon. It's Stone Dragon, so they're gonna get Stone Dragon, then they're gonna get Baron. They engage onto Mata in the jungle, but Mata pops Unbreakable Will and gets away. There's the dragon. They all back. They recall. They go around Baron. Wait, hold on. Faker steals away blue buff. The engage by score comes out onto Bang. The ultimate brings Jarvan to the team. Jarvan goes out and throws out the ult. Wolf jumps into the team with the Rakan ultimate. Lots of damage going out. And Wolf gets blown up instantly. Faker gets taken out pretty quickly as well. Bang. Destroyed as well. How did this happen? So Faker split up from the team. So this isn't that. Wait, why did Wolf die? Or not Wolf, Antara. It just doesn't make sense to me why SKT would want to position themselves in the river after Antara dies. Because like SKT is trying to not throw the game because they can't fight 4v5, right? Because fighting 4v5 is really difficult. And if they're going to fight 4v5, they at least have to target one person at a time. And if you look at this fight here, they weren't able to do that. So watch how Jarvan gets brought into the team, then Jarvan gets blown up. Jarvan moves out because he flashes out, and then Rakan moves into the team. Everyone on KT focuses Rakan. Now everyone on KT moves forward and focuses onto Faker. Now everybody moves onto Bang, and it's a natural progression of focus. And it's a problem for SKT because they had to start the fight at a disadvantage. So the fight should have never happened. If SKT... Okay, so first of all, the first mistake from SKT is the fact that Antara is pushing up so far by himself. And look at where his team is. No one can help him. There's no reason for him to be pushed up this far. So KT say, let's jump on Trundle. And they rotate everybody on Trundle. Then the second mistake is this positioning in the river here. Nobody should be... Nobody should be here. Actually, they engaged onto Alistar. That doesn't need to happen. First of all, Alistar is really difficult to kill. Second of all, Faker is not with the team, and Faker is half your damage because Faker has Trinity Force Rapid Fire BF Sword. So Trinity, Faker has most of your burst, so if you're going to burst someone and try and make it a 4v4, you want to have Faker with you as well so that you can do it instantly. Instead, Faker steals the blue buff. And if Faker's going to steal the blue buff, this engage by Rakan never happens, and Blank, and Wolf would have been moving out of the river. and then they would have never and if they never moved out, or if they moved out of the river, they would have never died, and if they never die, then they never have to fight this fight 4v5. But they forced themselves to fight the fight 4v5. So can blank even steal this? Like, oh my god. I swear to god, if blank steals this... Wait, what the fuck? Oh my god. What was that interaction? It seems odd to me that blank didn't go for the smite steal. Because why would blank not want to go for the smite steal when he's level... Wait. Wow. I don't think blank realized that when Alistar died, blank hit level 13, which means his smite does more damage. So he has the smite advantage, which means it's no longer a 50-50 smite. It's like a 55-45 smite, but it's still a smite in the favor of SKT. So blank makes the mistake of misjudging kill XP. And he says, I don't want to do the smite war because I think I'll lose the smite war anyway. So, the thing is, I don't want to say that it wasn't smart for KT to do Baron, because the Baron gives them 1,500 gold, and it further closes the gold gap, because now they went from like a 9,000 gold gap to about a 6,000, or no, a 5,800, which is, I mean, much more manageable. And now they have also Baron buffs, so they're a lot harder to push into. The only thing is that KT actively chose to do Baron, knowing it's a 50-50 smite. Because they did not know how much XP Jarvan had, so they did not know that Jarvan was going to hit level 13, unless they're geniuses and they've been tracking his XP. But I did not know that blank was going to hit level 13 there. And if I had known, then I would have told blank to get the fuck in that pit, because if he was in that pit, he could have stole the Baron. And it would have been easy because he had the advantage. And the DPS on the Baron was very low. Anyway, so what does KT have anything going for them right now? Well, they have Sivir with Infinity Edge Static and another BF sword, which is probably going to turn into Essence Reaver at some point. Kassadin finally has his 2-item power spike. Zac has Knight's Vow, so Sivir is going to be doing mega damage. And they have an Alistar with Moby Boots, and they have a Shen with... Shen has no magic resist. Like, he has a no magic mantle, but he has no defense against Corki. And he's no defense against the Trundle ultimate, which actually will do a lot of damage to him. And it will steal away his resistances and make Trundle very strong. Like, I still don't think that KT could even win at all unless SKT continued to make more mistakes. Is this the replay? Yeah. Here's the replay. So they engage on Amada. Actually, Chaya was not even there when they engaged on Amada. pull blank in. Blank smite Scuttle Crab there. Wait, was blank smite not up for the Baron? His smite had to be up for the Baron, right? Yeah, he had smite. He had smite. No. Wait, does he have challenging smite? No. Oh, he smites the Gromp. Never mind. I was like, what is he using smite on? Okay, so SKT, they're against Baron buffs right now, but they go for a 5-man mid. And they just run them over. See, now that SKT has, okay, so SKT has the 6,000 gold lead, right? They have that 6,000 gold lead. So they should be able to win fights 5v5 no matter what. It should not even be a contest. We should not even consider conditional wins from KT. Because we know that these players are good enough to the point where if they just position correctly, they'll win the fight. And look at this positioning. You have Faker coming from the flank. You have Wolf following up Blank after an engage. You have Bang in the back line, and you have Trundle in the front line. So now you have your two frontliners. You have your support, which is in between the carries and the tanks, and then you have your carries in the back line. And with this positioning, the fight's not even a contest. They come out with full health and they get 2 kills. So they push down mid lane, get mid lane inhibitor. They're going to push bottom lane now and get bottom lane inhibitor. Wait, they get... Oh, there's a fire dragon. That's interesting. Wow. What? Hold on. There was no way that Blank shouldn't have been able to smite that. Score would have had to jump in earlier if he wanted to smite that. Blank actually just fucked up there. Anyway, Trundle teleports in because he realizes he's not there. The Tri-E comes out. Shen's in the back line. Wolf's going to get taken out. Lots of damage going on to the front line from KT. Pawn's at like 2 health. The Zac goes down. Blank further engages. Antara is going to be moving on to Mata. Mata does not have Unbreakable Will. Mata dies as well. KT just moves in on the base, and they get an inhibitor tower, and then they die. Kassadin's starting to turn into a monster. There's nothing else to see here. Like in every situation, SKT should win a fight. Like yes, KT is a fire dragon. That's the most important thing in the game, but it's still an 8,000 gold lead, and even if the fire dragon is giving 3,000 gold worth of stats, that means KT is still at tipping point. And here's the Baron, and it goes over to SKT uncontested. And that would have had to been a contested Baron for KT to even attempt to win. Because if KT gets Baron again, and KT has the extra damage, and they have the Baron buff, and then they have the minions, and then they have the push in the lanes, they might be able to win a fight because they have the Fire Dragon as well. But since they didn't contest the Baron, there was no way. So SKT is going to go bottom lane and take the bottom lane towers. Now it's just SKT has the gold lead and they need to just force inhibitors. KT's waiting to make another Hail Mary play. There's the engage. There's the engage followed up by Zach. Bang gets into the back line. The Kassadin Zanyas. Kassadin's going to be taken out. Zach's going to be jumping on the back line, but there's no one to follow up that damage. Sivir just doesn't have the damage onto tanks yet to take out the front line of SKT, because remember they have a bruiser. They have two. They have a bruiser, a frontline tank, because Jarvan built full tank, and they have another bruiser, because I mean Rakan doesn't do damage, but he's slightly tanky. So SKT get the reverse sweep. SKT's drafts in game 1 and game 2 were a little bit weird. And SKT is very comfortable playing against Zach. Because remember, KT got to play Zach 3 times. So it's really interesting to me that this happened, but remember Blank played, and the difference between Blank and Peanut really helped make the reverse sweep happen, and especially in Game 4. Game 4 was carried by Wolf. So lots of interesting play. I can't say that I have any takeaway from this, because I'm just so appalled by all the mistakes that were made. Because it feels like for LCK playoffs, I feel like I shouldn't be seeing this many mistakes. I feel like I should be seeing more proper gameplay. Like actually sieging and like who can counter that siege. Actual team fights when the game is even, instead of team fights when there's already a 3,000 gold lead. Like, I'm not watching that much of League. I'm watching a lot of mistakes being made, and I feel like I just wasn't ready to see that. But anyway, SKT is crazy right now because they pulled the reverse sweep and they're going to finals. How amazing. Okay, well, that's my series on SKT versus KT. KT probably feeling really bad right now, but it's alright. Thanks for watching, and be sure to check out my other videos.